Have you ever felt like you're drowning in expectations? You wake up and before your feet even hit the floor, you're already behind. Messages, notifications, news updates, opinions, flooding in from every direction. Everyone's talking. Everyone wants something, and somehow you're supposed to care about all of it. You're supposed to have a strong opinion about every issue, be passionate about every cause, keep up with every trend, fix your mindset, grow your income, improve your relationships, level up your health, and smile while doing it. But by the end of the day, despite all the caring, you just feel empty. Sound familiar? Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Darn, offers something refreshingly different. It's not about caring less, it's about caring better. Instead of filling your life with artificial positivity or toxic self-love advice, Manson dares you to choose your struggles. He says pain is inevitable, but the pain you choose, that's where meaning begins. It's not that life should be easy, it's that it should be worth it. So over the next 20 minutes, let's walk through the biggest, boldest ideas from this groundbreaking book. Not as a checklist of tips, not as a typical summary, but as a conversation, honest, raw, and real. We'll explore stories, examples, and questions that help us slow down and ask, what truly deserves my time, energy, and care? Because giving a darn about everything is the fastest path to burnout. But giving a darn about the right things, that's the path to a life of purpose. Let's begin with a story that's equal parts strange and inspiring. Charles Bukowski. If you've never heard of him, that's okay. He wasn't a typical self-help hero. He was a struggling writer who spent decades bouncing between dead-end jobs. He was brash, unfiltered, a heavy drinker, and honestly, kind of a mess. But here's what's wild. At the age of 50, when most people are thinking of retirement, Bukowski's first novel, Post Office, was published, and it exploded. He went on to write dozens of books, became a cult icon, and found a devoted following. But what he asked to be written on his tombstone was this: don't try. Now, why would someone who finally found success late in life choose those words? Because for him, don't try wasn't about laziness, it was about authenticity. You see, for years, Bukowski tried to be someone he wasn't. He tried to be respectable, tried to impress people, tried to fit in, and it led nowhere. But when he stopped pretending, when he wrote from his raw, unfiltered truth, that's when people finally listened. Mark Manson ties this to something he calls the feedback loop from hell. It's when you feel bad about feeling bad, you're anxious, and then anxious about your anxiety. You're insecure, and then ashamed for being insecure. It's a loop that never ends because you're always trying to fix yourself, chasing some ideal version of you that doesn't exist. But what if the real growth comes not from trying harder, but from letting go? What part of your life feels forced right now? What expectations are weighing you down, not lifting you up? The truth is, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be honest. When you stop trying to be someone else and finally own your flaws, your real voice starts to come alive, and that's where everything changes. Now let's talk about something that most self-help books never say. Happiness is not a default setting. It's not something you achieve and then coast on forever. Mark Manson opens this chapter with a truth bomb. Life is essentially an endless series of problems. Sounds depressing, right? But stay with me, because what he's saying is powerful. You will always have problems, but what changes your life is which problems you choose. Enter a hilarious, made-up character Manson calls Disappointment Panda. Imagine this. One day, a sad-looking panda knocks on your door, but instead of hugging you or handing you inspirational quotes, he tells you the harsh truth about yourself, the stuff you don't want to hear. He might say, you're not as smart as you think. Your relationship is falling apart because you're not communicating. Your goals are just fantasies if you don't take action. And while his honesty stings, it wakes you up. Manson says most people want the reward, but not the process. We want to be rich, but not face rejection, financial risk, or failure. We want to be fit, but not endure early mornings, sore muscles, or food cravings. We want love, but not the discomfort of vulnerability, compromise, or difficult conversations. But here's the thing. Struggles are what give life meaning. Want to be a best-selling author? Get ready for years of writing in obscurity? Want to build a YouTube channel? Prepare for posting when no one's watching, learning editing, and pushing through burnout. Want to be a great parent? Get ready for sleepless nights, sacrifices, and patience you didn't know you had. So the question isn't, what do you want out of life? The real question is, what pain are you willing to endure for something meaningful? Because when you choose your struggle, you choose your strength. This one's going to sting a little. In a world that constantly tells you you're unique, amazing, and destined for greatness, Mark Manson says something radical. You're probably not, and that's okay. Wait, what? Isn't that the opposite of everything we've been taught? Since childhood, We're told we're special snowflakes, that we can do anything, that we deserve happiness, success, recognition, just for existing. But Manson warns, this mindset leads to entitlement. The idea that things should go our way, that if we're not winning, something's wrong, that life owes us something. He tells a story of a social media influencer, someone with a massive following, glamorous photos, the perfect digital life. But offline, she was miserable, exhausted, hollow, because all her energy was going into maintaining an image, not building a life. She believed that to matter, she had to be exceptional every moment, that just being herself wasn't enough. And honestly, that's how a lot of us feel. But here's the truth Manson gives us. You don't need to be extraordinary to be fulfilled. In fact, the pressure to be exceptional can destroy your peace. Think about it. Most of life is ordinary. Making dinner, talking to your partner, watering the plants, watching the same movie for the third time. And when you stop chasing the idea that your life has to be amazing all the time, you start noticing the quiet beauty in it, the comfort of a routine, the joy of a shared laugh, the relief of not needing to perform. Manson calls this radical humility, recognizing that being average is not a failure. It's freedom. Freedom from comparison, from pressure, from always trying to be someone. What if ordinary isn't boring, but beautiful? What if being not special is what allows you to be real? We all suffer, every one of us. It's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. Pain, discomfort, setbacks, they're all part of the human experience. So the question isn't, how do I avoid suffering? It's, what am I suffering for? Mark Manson dives deep into this with a powerful framework. He calls it good values versus bad values. Good values are rooted inside you. They're reality-based, constructive, and within your control. Things like honesty, responsibility, curiosity, kindness, growth. These values make you stronger, even when things get tough. But then there are bad values, the kind that are based on external validation. Fragile, unstable, like fame, always being liked, feeling constantly happy, having the most followers, always being right. These might feel good short term, but in the long run, they create emptiness, anxiety, constant comparison. Let's take an example from the real world. Jenny, a rising influencer. She had it all. Brand deals, viral videos, glossy photo shoots. From the outside, she was winning. But inside, she was exhausted, burned out, miserable. Her self-worth was tied to likes and follows. One bad post, and her day was ruined. One mean comment, and it echoed in her head for weeks. But then, something shifted. She started coaching women behind the scenes, helping them with confidence, communication, and career transitions. No applause, no spotlight, just quiet, meaningful work. And for the first time in years, and she felt peace. Same person, same skills, but different values. Ask yourself honestly, what are you chasing right now that might be built on the wrong foundation? Are you hustling for attention or working towards something that actually aligns with your deeper values? Because when your values are solid, your life becomes solid. You suffer either way, but now the suffering has purpose. Here's one of the toughest and most liberating truths in the book. Even if something isn't your fault, it's still your responsibility. Let that sink in for a moment. We don't get to control what happens to us. Life throws curveballs all the time. Accidents, betrayals, loss. Some of it is truly unfair. But how we respond, that's on us. Manson shares the story of a close friend. She lost both her parents when she was just a teenager. An unimaginable tragedy. Most people would have crumbled. Some would have numbed the pain or closed themselves off emotionally, but not her. She chose healing. She sought therapy, practiced gratitude, built strong, healthy relationships. She even went on to become a counselor, helping others process their own grief. Did she choose the pain? No, but she chose how to live through it. That's the heart of this chapter. Life hands you a deck of cards, and some hands are brutally unfair, but the power lies in how you play them. You don't have to be a victim of your past. You can be the author of your response. So here's a question that hits hard. What pain or story are you holding on to as an excuse to stay stuck? Is it a betrayal you haven't forgiven? A mistake you haven't moved past? A hardship that's become your identity? Because the truth is, you're always choosing. Even if that choice is to do nothing, that's still a choice. Today, right now, you can start choosing differently. And when you do, you reclaim your power. We humans love being right. It gives us certainty, a sense of control. It feels good to be the one who knows. But Mark Manson flips this on its head with brutal honesty. What we believe is always wrong, some of it just less wrong than others. Sounds extreme, right? But think about it. The person you were 5 years ago, you probably disagree with some of their beliefs now. The way you thought about success, love, politics, Spirituality, hasn't it evolved? That's because growth means admitting you were wrong. Manson shares how, early in his blogging career, he wrote articles that were, well, kind of preachy. He thought he had all the answers. But as his audience grew, so did the feedback. Readers challenged him, debated him, called him out, and instead of doubling down, he listened. He started asking better questions, doing more research, admitting when he was off. And you know what happened? His writing became deeper, more real, more human. That's progress. He compares it to updating your mental software. Just like your phone needs regular updates to fix bugs and stay secure, your mind needs updates too. You should be replacing outdated ideas with better ones. That's not a flaw. It's how you evolve. But most people don't grow because they're too busy defending their identity. They confuse being wrong with being worthless. So ask yourself, what belief have you been clinging to just because it's familiar? What would happen if you let it go? You don't have to be right all the time. You just have to be willing to learn, because that's where real wisdom begins. There's this myth in the self-help world. You need to feel inspired before you act. But Manson discovered the opposite is often true. You don't get motivation before action. You get motivation from action. He calls this the do something principle. It was born out of one of the darkest periods of his life. He was broke, lonely, living abroad, no plan, no direction. Every day he woke up overwhelmed. So many things he could do that he did nothing. Until one day he told himself, just write one paragraph. That's it. And so he did. The next day he wrote another, and then another. No inspiration, just action. That single habit of doing something, anything, changed everything. Because here's the magic of small action. It builds momentum. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need the next step. It's like pushing a boulder. The first push takes the most energy, but once it's rolling, it gets easier. The movement creates more movement, whether it's making that one phone call, sending that one email, shooting that one video, going on that one walk. Small steps lead to big shifts. So here's your challenge. What's one tiny action you can take today, no matter how small, that moves you forward? Not a perfect action, not the right action, just something. Because when you do something, you start becoming someone. Let's be honest, saying no feels uncomfortable. We worry we'll hurt someone's feelings, burn a bridge, or seem selfish. But Mark Manson flips that idea upside down. He says, you have a limited number of things you can give a darn about. Think of your emotional energy as a care budget, like a bank account. You've got only so many cares to spend in a day. If you're giving them away to every little thing, every criticism, every argument, every demand, you'll run out. And what's worse, you won't have anything left for what actually matters. Let me tell you the story he shares about a successful lawyer. From the outside, the guy had everything: a 6-figure job, a luxurious apartment, social clout. But inside, he was breaking. He was constantly on call, arguing with toxic coworkers, and stuck in a relationship that drained him emotionally. He had no time for himself, no time for joy, no time for the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own thoughts. Then one day he snapped. He quit, left the city, broke up with the partner who had been emotionally distant for years. He gave up comfort, but he gained something far more precious: peace. At first, people thought he was crazy. Why would you leave a stable life like that? But over time, those same people started asking how he did it, because they could see it in his eyes. He looked free. Mark reminds us, saying no isn't rude. It's necessary. You're not rejecting people. You're protecting your values. You're not being cold. You're creating clarity. So here's the reflection. What in your life right now needs a healthy no, so you can finally say yes to something better? Is it a draining relationship? An obligation you took out of guilt, not joy? A social circle that doesn't support your growth? Remember, every yes you say to something unimportant is a no to something essential. Choose wisely. Now we arrive at the final chapter, and it's not one people expect from a self-help book. Mark Manson talks about death, but not in a grim or scary way. He writes about it to remind us that we don't have forever. And when you really let that sink in, not in a cliche way, but in your bones, it changes things. He shares a personal story. His grandmother passed away at 95. She lived a simple life. She didn't have fame or wealth, but she had love. She had connection. She had presence. She showed up for her family. She told stories. She baked cookies. She laughed with her eyes. And when she passed, people didn't talk about her achievements. They talked about her kindness, her warmth, the way she made them feel. That was her legacy. And it hit Mark hard. We chase so many things: success, attention, validation. But at the end of it all, what truly matters? When we face our own mortality, clarity emerges. The noise quiets down. The small things fade away. And the big things, love, meaning, contribution, they come into focus. So let me ask you this. If you knew your time was limited, which it is, what would you do differently? Would you spend less time scrolling and more time connecting? Would you forgive someone? Would you finally start that project or write that letter or say, I love you more often? Because it brings everything into perspective. So what is the subtle art of not giving a darn really about? It's not about not caring about anything. It's about caring deeply, but only about the things that matter most. It's about stripping away the clutter. You don't have unlimited energy. You don't have unlimited time. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to impress everyone. What you do need is to choose your struggles wisely. Live by values that strengthen you. Let go of the need to always be right. Take responsibility for your healing. Say no with courage. And remember, life is short, so live it well. Mark Manson doesn't offer magic formulas. He doesn't pretend to have it all figured out. He just asks you to be honest with yourself. And here's your gentle reminder. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be exceptional. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to give your energy, your heart, your effort to the things that actually deserve it. Let go of the rest. Because when you stop giving your energy to the wrong things, you finally make space for the right ones. And that is where freedom begins. If this message resonated with you, if even one story or idea helped shift something inside you, then I invite you to hit the like button, drop a comment below, and share your worthy struggle. What's that one hard thing you're choosing to pursue on purpose? And what's something you're choosing to let go of? Starting today, subscribe for more deep, soulful breakdowns of books that don't just sound good, but hit home. Thanks for spending this time with me. Here's to caring less about what doesn't matter and living more for what does. You've got this.